Go ahead.
Hi everybody. I was at Hanford and a buddy of mine saw a couple bikes I had and he says, everything you got's original paint. So we're going to give everybody a lesson in original paint. We cannot argue this. This is a new old stock fork in the box with the tag. If this ain't original paint doesn't exist. So yeah, this is original paint. It's got the tag, it's got all the, if this ain't original paint, fellas, original paint doesn't exist. Nobody has it in the world. So yeah, this is original paint. This here is a little Elko Meter. I had it made to read paint depth on metal. Harley paint is a general uniform depth. It's going to, this is test, I believe, microns, and could be millimeters. Anyhow, it's going to go on average about 2.8 to no more than about 4 to 5. That's it, depending on who sprayed it, who painted it, what mood they were in, the mixture, that sort of stuff. Sometimes Harley Davidson paint got double painted because they ran out of sheet metal. They just grabbed something and repainted. We're going to show you some of that. Well, first we're going to test some new old stock stuff. This is a new old stock fork. We have 2.45 on the front fork on that side, 3.02 there. This here on the inside is 2.04, 2.38. Now this is important. This was not machine done. Machine done is too uniform. I've seen it happen. I was looking in Florida at a repainted knucklehead, and I'm like, why is this 2.8, 2.85 over the whole bike? That's weird. Something's wrong. And I talked to a buddy of mine. He says, well, we know the bike came from Detroit, right? And I go, yeah. He says, well, let me tell you something. In the 70s, when this bike was found, every Harley Davidson dealer around had access to the big paint booths, and it was so cheap to do it, everybody did it. So everybody took the paint, and they electrically magnetized the paint in the metal, and it went on perfectly smooth. I used to work as a paint inspector. This is what they did. I was there. I said, oh, that's why it's perfectly uniform and it's not thinner all over the whole bike. So yeah, you can have it really thin, but if it's too uniform, human hands aren't that uniform, as you just saw. So we're going to look on the outside of the legs here, and we're going to test 1.78, 1.72, 1.72 again. This is 1.54, 1.96. Now this is a fork. Generally speaking, on the non-black stuff, like a bike, I'll put that back later, it's going to be a little thicker. But here we have some army green forks. These are new old stock. You can see the tag there. There's remnants of the tag there. We got 1.19, 1.71. This is stupidly thin paint. Modern paint jobs are not that. It's a different paint. It's too thick, as you're going to see. So we're going to go over to this little area here. We're going to look at some other new old stock parts. Here we got a brand new old stock oil tank. This says Hydroglide right here. This is a panhead oil tank. Same oil tank as the knucklehead, but it wouldn't have Hydroglide on it, obviously. This is 1.4.
1.49.
1.79. See how thin that is? That's new old stock. Okay? This is an original paint, but it's not new. See the difference? 0.79. It's been polished a little bit. 1.3, 0.88. Now, we got a new old stock cat eye dash here for a 38. This is new old stock right here. 0.136, 0.178. Now these are original paint, but they've been around for a little while. 2.8, 2.34, 2.68, 3.5, if I start getting readings in the 5 or 6 range, if I can't see a paint underneath of it and it's uniform like that, I'm going to start getting really suspicious. If I get readings over 6, I'm going to get real suspicious. Now there's other indications as well, which is why I've got a magnifier here. You got to break this out. I don't know if we can get this on camera or not, but you got to get in here and look and see where the scratches are. Because let me tell you what, Harley Davidson took a brand new piece of sheet metal and painted it. They never sanded it. If there's any sanding underneath the paint, you got a problem. It's not original paint. I don't care how thin it is, I don't care what it reads like, I don't care what the primer is, it is not original paint. People fake this stuff all the time. You better have a magnification device when you go to look at your motorcycle. Now there's another indication you got to look for here. Right here at the bottom, they drilled a hole to get the parkerizing solution out. And as you can see, you can't see it on camera, but you better be able to feel for it. And that by itself is not an indication all by itself, because I've had original paint tanks that were repainted over it and still had the little dimples. I'm going to show you a portion of this film as soon as we find some. It's going to be a little dimple here and you're going to be able to feel for it. Somewhere in here. And you got to be able to find it. Sometimes they're stupid ass thin. These ones are both thin. It's right in here on this one. They're not always in the same place. They were hand drilled. They're not machine drilled. And you got to find it. But let's go and look at our 38 tanks. I'm going to show you what I mean. Because these here, it's not visible. But we've got some new old stock tanks over here. And we're going to show you. And we're going to bounce around to all these bikes. So this is going to be a long video. We're going to see whether Todd has original paint bikes or not. We're going to show you. So, we have our little Magic 38 tanks here. And right here, you can plainly see the dimple. Right as day. Now I've seen dimples huge like this, giant. I've seen them so small like on the other ones, you can barely feel it. It's just a matter of who did the weld, how good a welder they are, because they welded it up at the end. See, on this side here, you can't see it. But I can kind of sort of feel a little raise. These are new old stock tanks. There's no sanding underneath at all. These are original paint. They're new old stock. There's no sanding underneath. If you go back to my videos, I said I had to pull the tanks out to be certain. Now we know there's absolutely no sanding underneath this metal. We got the brown primer. This is the right leg 38 decal, which most people are not aware of. They did not make this decal very long. Parkerized inside the tanks. I don't know if you can set that on the camera or not, but there is parkerizing inside the tanks. They were always parkerized. You can see the lip here. The lip ages differently. It depends on who painted it. Some painted it down here, some all the way up and over. It's a matter of what the guy did. The same painter did not paint every Harley Davidson paint job through history. It's impossible. It didn't happen. There's our other tank. It was rubbing on the frame there. I'm glad I took it off. You can see the brown primer underneath. The brown everywhere. No sanding anywhere. These were brand new sheet metal when they were painted. Here's inside the tank. I don't know if you can see that or not, but it's beautiful parkerizing inside the tank. The whole lip and area and everything in here is going to be different from original to aftermarket tanks. The metal itself ages. It has age to it. The welding inside is different. It's not the same. But you always want to check for this. You should be able to at least feel it, but this by itself is not an indication. Some of these welders are really, really good. So now we're going to test for thickness. 3.1, 4.0, 2.5, 4.6, 3.7, 3.5. Now remember, these are new old stock tanks, and whoever found these and put them on the bike sanded them a little bit and dumb them up to make it blend in with the bike. So it always calls it one time. anyhow, we're going to go over to our original paint motorcycle, 38. .6, 0.7, 1.0, 1.8, 1.9, 2.0. Okay? Now you have to be careful. This headlight's been repainted over the army green. And look where it measures out. This is a military headlight that somebody put on this bike. So this is an indication, but without this tools I'm going to show you, you don't know. 2.6. This is the original paint toolbox I picked up for this bike. It's 2.9. Here's the front of it. 1.4. Now, I'm going to go to our little 47 here, one of three we have. 1.3, 1.7, 1.1, 1.2, 1.6, 1.7. This is a repaint of these bars here. 4.2, and you can see how old and nasty this paint is, and it's that thick. Whoops. This is a repaint on the bars. We knew that. Somebody made those bars out of some Hollywood bars. 1.7. This is a resprayed area. 3.5. See, it doesn't match. Gotta call you back. 0.75. 0.9. Let's see, it's going into the brown primer even. Look how thin this is. 0.6. You can see the brown primer right through the paint. Now the brown primer is really cool, really interesting. In 38 through 41, they were changing it. Sometimes you had brown primer, sometimes you had gray primer. We got a perfect example of that. We've got photos of this bike here all the way into the 40s from the original owner. This is documented since day one, our beautiful police bike. You can see the brown primer on the rear fender. This is Todd, I gotta call you back. Let me call you back. .7, 2.4, 2.5. Now we got the gray primer here on the tanks here. All right, and these tanks were painted at the factory double. So that's 11.0, 11.2, 14.8, but this is a paint over the paint. If you look carefully, you see the green here and the age, it has the same age. See this emblem here? This is the emblem for a speedball badge, right there. And you see this mark right here? This is from the winter windshield on the bike. Now we're going to do the front fender. Same paint. 4.3, 4.4. See the green stripe? It all blends. Now let's go over here and look at this bike right here. If you look careful, you can see a paint underneath the paint. Harley Davidson is known to repaint their bikes. There's a white paint underneath the ivory, and if you've been watching our videos, you've seen white, not ivory, but white on the order forms. So I did have an actual white you could buy. Yes, indeed, you can buy anything you want. They got the paint from DuPont. We showed that as well. But we also showed where Harley got the paint at this time. And we showed it. DuPont. Let's go over here. We're going to look at this beautiful bike. This is Eddie, the police officer. You can look right here. You can see the damage from the winter windshield and no speedball badges. Well, those speedball badges didn't come out till 47. Hello. And there's the damage from the winter windshield. That bike is original paint from the factory, but that thick. So you got to really be careful, but we can see the double paint on it. So it's going to be thicker when they double paint it like that. And in this instance, they painted it and they primed it again and painted it, as you can see in the layers. That's why it's that thick on the tanks. Now we got our blue 47, 2.0, 1.8, 3.2, 1.5, 4.3, 1.1, 1.5. Again, you can look at our gas caps here and check around there. And this one here, you can get a picture back here. You can get the little knob on the back, right where my finger is underneath.
Yep. Okay.
You get that?
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, you're not getting it. Right down here.
Okay, I see that.
It's very, very, I can totally feel it. I don't know if you can pick it up in the video or not.
It's hard to see because it's dark.
Right, but it's there. You can always feel some kind of raise, about 99% of the time. But it can be a huge giant bump or little bitty nipples. It can be really, really small. This one here has a little tiny nipple on the back. I can barely feel it. 4.5. This is a dealer display bike. 1.6. Who painted it? Who sprayed it? You're going to have variations, right? But unless it's a double paint that you can document like that, which I just documented, it's always going to be 6 is the highest I've ever seen. It's usually about 2.8 to 4, somewhere in there. Here's the sidecar. Now I was there 20 years ago when this came out of the dealer's attic where it had been at for 40 years. I've known this bike 20 some years, and Waxler, Dale Waxler, Wheels Through Time, had it at his museum after my buddy Skip Piper sold it. And then he traded it to another friend who has requested I don't mention his name on camera, so I won't anymore. And I got it from him at Davenport. And I knew the bike, and I'm telling him the story, and he's looking at me like, man, you've lost it. And I'm telling him, we're walking over to get the title. He pulls out the title, and the title's still in my buddy Skip Piper's name. And so, see, I told you. Dealer display bike, 1,300 miles on it. Here we got our 41 custom paint, 4.2. We got double paint here, 7.1. 7.1. Double paint, guys. It's a custom paint. It's going to be the paint over a paint, 1.7. 3.1. Here's our side of the paint, 5.7. Here's our side of the paint over there, 6.0. That's a double paint, and it's still that thin because it was done at the factory. This isn't somebody painted it to their design after the fact. It'd be way thicker. I'm going to show you that in a little bit. 2.9, 2.3, 1.8. Let's have a look at the front fender. 2.5, 2.6. All right, so let's go over here. Now this bike here, when I first got it, I thought I had an original paint. It's 46. It is original paint. It's Harley Davidson paint. Hell, you could just buy it. Just walk into the dealership and buy it. How many gallons you want, we'll sell it to you. No problem. It's back then. Problem is this original paint was not applied at Harley Davidson. 13.7. This fender has been carefully dinged out, leaded over, and then repainted. What I'm detecting is the paint thickness. 9.9, 8.5, 5.9, 6.6, 7.1, 5.9, 4.8. And we're going to polish this on the top. It's exposed. But you can see how thick it is, and we know the front fender got damaged and repaired, and it's all the same paint job. So no, we don't have an original paint bike. Looks like it though, doesn't it? It ain't. It's original Harley paint, but it's not an original paint at Harley Davidson paint. Now let's go over to green. Have a look at that. Controversy bike.
Yeah.
1.7. 2.0. 1.5, 2.1, and yeah, I had high magnification on this bike back in the day when I bought it, and all the scratches are on the top of the paint. Nothing's underneath. Now they were whining about the fork. 2.5, 1.7, 1.2. Let's have a look at the frame. 3.5. Let's have a look at the oil tank. 1.6. I guess we got an original paint bike, guys. All right, let's have a look at the tanks on old Greenie here.
Oh, okay.
There's the tank right there. What we got? 3.5. Have a look at this tank here. 3.4. I dare any of you fools, any one of you, go around your motorcycles and do this to them. Let's see your video. I dare you. Nobody will do that video but me. 1.7. This is an original paint frame that came off the old blue 48 chassis. 0.7. 3.4. Let's look at the bug. This is a winning circle bike. The MCA judged original paint. Let's see what that is. 1.7. 1.5. 1.4. 1.3. 1.3. 1.3. 1.3. Wow. Look at that. Now we got Mr. Bill here, third 47. Let's have a look at that one. 1.9. 1.6. 1.9. 2.2. 2.6. 1.5. Front fender here. 1.6. 1.6. Now this is important, what I'm about to show you. In 46 and 47, they're raising production. They're raising production dramatically over anything else they'd ever had before since the teens. And when they put the knuckleheads out, all of a sudden they had a better bike in the flathead and the knucklehead. They had a better roads. They were paving roads around the country because of the wars that was going on. And World War II, they had to move troops. All of a sudden you have a lot more paved roads. People are actually putting a lot more miles on their bikes, and they're cracking fenders. And so in the war effort itself, they came out with a little bit what we call a mid-strap fender, and then after the war they came out with a wide strap fender. But they ran out of materials all the time because they were just raising production. So some of your 46 and 47s, it could have a wide strap fender or a narrow strap fender, and it came that way from the factory. It wasn't until 48 they finally ran out enough of the narrow braces that all your fenders came out with a wide strap. So here we got a wide strap rear fender on this bike here. This is the wide strap, and this is the narrow strap on the front fender. Right here. This is the way this bike came. The man I got it from saw this bike sold new. He had it from 1961. His whole life it's been in Kalamazoo, Michigan until I bought it. If you go back over to our blue 47 over here, we got a wide strap front fender. Right there, that's the wide strap front fender. And the rear fender has been repaired here because they broke the narrow strap. Narrow strap rear fender. If you go over to our other 47 over here, this one here has wide strap front and rear fenders. See the straps here and the straps here. Okay, that is perfectly fine for your 46 and 47. If it's a 48, I would question it, but not on a 46 or 7. Let's go over to our little 49 here. This is an important bike. This is why I'm showing this one last. It's 49, it's original paint, it's burgundy. It has optional custom color for the shifter, optional custom color for the speedball badge. Now, we got original paint, 1.4, 1.9, 2.3, 3.1. Now in 50 they recalled the front fenders because they broke. This is a 50 recall Fender. Original paint. 2.8. How fucking cool is that? 2.5. That is not a repainted later Fender. That is a recall from Harley Davidson front fender. The ridden machines, they're used. They're not new out of the crate. As long as you got something that is a recall item that's within the era that you can document as being from that moment in time when it was a new bike, it's perfectly fine. That's why Greenie has that welded fork, as we discussed. It is a recall fork for replacement when your fork broke. Nothing wrong with it. So that here, if you don't got one of these with you, you don't know what you're looking at. I will see you guys on the next video.
The experts.
Thank you.